Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in for the first lesson of Holy Week. A big part of what Holy Week is retelling and remembering the stories of Jesus' last week before his death and resurrection from the dead. The first day of this week is Sunday, which is known as Palm Sunday. This is the day that we remember the beginning of Jesus' final week before his death. This day is called Palm Sunday because it is the day Jesus rode into Jerusalem on a donkey as the crowds of people waved palm branches around him. Jesus was traveling to Jerusalem to celebrate the annual holiday of Passover. It was one of, if not the most important, holidays to the Jewish people. We'll talk about the importance of that day later this week. But for now, picture in your mind a calendar, a week on the calendar. We're talking about what happened on Sunday. The story is told in all four Gospels, so you can go back and read them if you don't understand any part of this story or any part seems confusing to you. The story of Palm Sunday is told in Matthew chapter 21, verses 1 through 11, Mark chapter 11, verses 1 through 11 also, or you could read it in Luke chapter 19, verses 28 through 38, and then you also have John chapter 12, verses 12 through 15, a really short telling of that one. But the story goes that while traveling to Jerusalem, Jesus asked two of his disciples to go enter a village ahead of them where they would find a young donkey which Jesus asked for them to bring to him. The donkey would be his ride into Jerusalem. The donkey was there just as Jesus said it would be, and the disciples did as Jesus said. Now, Jesus was like a celebrity in that day, in the way that he always had a crowd of people that flocked around him everywhere he went. His entrance into Jerusalem this day was no different. People lined the streets and shed their coats for Jesus' ride to walk upon. The people also cut off branches from their fields and spread those before Jesus. And this is where we get the name Palm from Palm Sunday from. The branches that were being waved are thought to have been palm branches. While Jesus rode into the city, people were waving their palm branches, placing their coats on the ground for the donkey to walk upon, and they were shouting and singing praises. The phrases that people were shouting and cheering were Hosanna, Hosanna in the highest, and blessed is the coming kingdom of our father David. Now, the first two phrases I mentioned are the most important because of the word Hosanna. It's a word that we don't recognize because we only really say this word for this certain holiday. Hosanna was a Hebrew word that means save, please. It was a word that people would cry out for a beg. They were begging to be saved. The people were crying out to Jesus, begging to be saved. Now, the Jewish people were not a free people. They wanted to be saved from the Romans who ruled over them. The people today, this day of Palm Sunday, look to Jesus as a king from the line of David, and shouting Hosanna were begging to be saved from the Romans. The people who sang their praises to Jesus knew they needed to be saved, but they didn't fully understand what it was that Jesus came to save them from. And that is where our story for Palm Sunday ends, and we will continue the story on Thursday.